And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, sir.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Boots and Whiskey Podcast. As always, I am your host. My name is Jim. Welcome back for those of you that are back. Welcome new listeners, viewers, for those of you that are here just to see our guest today. I'm going to back up. So the other day I texted our guest. His name is Kier Byrnes, and I said to him, I go, how the hell do you pronounce your name? And I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. And because as you know, Kier, I never met a Kier other than Mr. Byrnes before in my entire life. So, and now that I think about it, I should have asked in the episode. Anyway, we're going off. But we have him here. Kier Byrnes is here. We're going to get to that in a minute. We recorded this a little while ago, back in December, maybe even earlier than that. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I thought this is a fun conversation. We talk a lot. This is a local New England scene kind of conversation. So I apologize for those of you that are in Texas or Oklahoma or wherever the hell you are. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? That's what this is going to be a lot of today, which is cool. We haven't done a local in a while, so I love this. Kier and his band, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't have it in front of me, but I always call them the Kettle Corn Cookers. Don't ask me why. I apologize, Kier, in advance, but to me, I like it. I know it's not their name. I know it's a little, people may think, oh, you're making fun of them. No, I'm not making fun of them. That's how I remember who the hell he is. And that's how I remember how the band is. And their band is fantastic. And we talk about it in the episode where it's a mix of things. It's like the kitchen sink. Like, you get everything. It's awesome. But they just recently won a New England Music Award. I want to say Best Americana Band. I don't remember. I presented it. I was lubricated. But yeah, we had a great time that night. It was nice to see them. Nice to see a win from them. I'm going off on a tangent tonight. We've had an interesting couple of weeks here at the Boots and Whiskey Podcast that you're going to start to find out about soon. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's your millionth time here, welcome back. That's it, guys. We're gonna just jump right into it. Like I said last week, no more commercials for now, until I can get real ones made. So thank you to DCU Center, Off the Rails, 10th Mountain Whiskey, LH Coffee out west, love her. Mwah. Who else? Bar Book, Whiskey Grail, Dixon Boots, everybody that has ever supported this show, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Without you guys, this show doesn't exist. Actually, that's not true. Without the listeners and the viewers, this show doesn't exist. So that's that. Having a little old fashioned tonight while we're getting ready for you to enjoy the conversation. And that's it, guys. We hope you enjoy. We will see you on the other side of this. And sit back, relax, enjoy, and we'll see you here in a little bit for the final thoughts. Cheers. Have a conversation, if you will.
Sounds good.
Nice shirt, by the way.
Thanks. I think I'm wearing the same one. Oh, the Dan Miller one.
Yeah.
representing Dan Miller. I got
Yeah, man.
other brother Daryl up here, so
Yeah.
got to report, got to represent the local scene.
That's right. I had Dan on early on,
Yeah,
and
you have
what a good dude.
a crazy number of episodes, like
Yeah, man. It's been a
closing in on
lot.
300, right? What's where are you at?
We're getting there. As of you and I talking right now, before this gets released, we're at like 263, I think.
Damn. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah,
You've been doing this for a while,
yeah, yeah. 3 years.
and he's still doing it. So that's got to be you got to be doing something right.
I think it's my I think it's the ADHD.
Yeah.
You know, and the need to like control something that I can control this pretty easily.
Refuse to give up. That's kind of what I have. That same thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we'll call it. A refusal to give up. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of things in my life right now that a lot of people wish I would give up, but can't do it.
No. Thank
Um,
me on. I
oh
appreciate.
hell yeah, man! Like, congratulations on your win.
Yeah, it was pretty big. We're still. It has not hit us. It's still pretty surreal. We don't. We have band practice tonight, and everyone's still like, "What happened?" Uh,
Yeah,
it was pretty good. So we're pretty honored. New England Music Award. We're excited, and thank you for giving it us.
yeah.
You're the host. That I appreciate
I
it.
you know I was the one to hand it off.
The MC. So we're forever in your debt for that too. So
Um,
I,
what? So I wanted to get into this with you about your style of music while we
yeah.
were talking about it, because I've been listening to your stuff, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I can't pinpoint it.
Yeah, it's a little bit all over the map, kind of like Americana. Americana, I think, is a good title for us in the fact that it's a good coverall. It covers everything from bluegrass to some soul, roots, country, rock, pop. All have elements that can be found in um, Americana. I mean, even like I refer them to Americana adjacent categories like Celtic and even polkas, stuff like that.
Yeah,
We're a fusion of all that sort of thing. And the way I like to think about it is we are a band that you'd want to hear if you went to a bar,
okay,
a nice drinking honky tonks type place. So I think
yeah.
that's our role in life in the whole scheme of where bands end up. Some people play stadiums. We're going to be playing bars probably till we die.
Right. So how did you get into, like, what do you do? How do I
What
want to put this? How do you get into a band like this? Like, I mean, this is your band. I mean,
I think, like, I mean, like, there's like a couple aspects of this, like strategic decisions of like who your bandmates are. It helps, like, you pick people who are not going to be like who are going to be available. People who are, that's a very important thing. Like, you can't have a band and not, I don't think organic we would work if we were not sort of proximate to each other. I think that has to happen. I know some bands can, like, do albums over the internet, a la Postal Service and whatnot. But I think what we do happens very organically. So proximity is a big thing, but I think the other part of the thing is I don't think being a great musician helps, but we can learn a lot of that stuff. I mean, you got to have some chops,
right.
but I think just like being a good hang, like, I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. Like, if you're going to be spending a lot of time together, you got to get along together. And, like, I think creativity, everybody has it in them, and what those people who can, it's not going to shut you down, but bring things out and work together, work cooperatively. So
Yeah.
that's how I sort of think about it when I'm piecing a band together. And a lot of it is just pure luck too.
Sure. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So how long have you guys been together as a unit now?
This band's pretty new. We were pretty young when we got nominated for the Americana Music Award for New England Music Awards last year. We were babies, and we were very we're about a year and a half in, 2 years in, I guess. I don't know where time is going. My sense of time is a little bit skewed, but we're still on the young side of things, but we've done a lot. And they're the guys are great. We've had some good experience. We shared bills with Hank Williams Jr. Oak Crow Medicine Show. We shared bills with George Thorogood and the Destroyers. Who's that country band from Miami that's sick? The Mavericks.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we were Fastball from the '90s band, and probably the highlight right now is Willie Nelson, playing the second stage on the Outlaw Music Festival there.
Right. Sorry, I had to.
We're both. Yeah, I got you. If you need to take a break or anything, I'm here.
No, it's just kid stuff. So, I mean, that's awesome. So, what were you doing before this iteration?
So I was pretty lucky. I was in a band called 3 Day Threshold, which was back when country music was a dirty word. No, everybody would everybody up north would say, what kind of music do you like? Anything but rap and country. And rap's huge now, and country's huge now. And we were on the countryside thing, so people would be we'd call our tagline was good country gone bad, or gone terribly bad. And we played our own version of it, and it was pretty good because we were the other groups that were around doing country that however many years ago. It's relatively new to the scene. I don't think country had exploded as it has on the map in the past decade or so.
Right.
And we were lucky because we did a bunch of tours. We did toured 17 different countries, and played in all states but North Dakota, Alaska, and Hawaii. So
holy shit.
yeah, we got around. We played some music. We did some recordings. We had some wild times. We won a couple Boston Music Awards. We won Boston Magazine's Best Local Band, beating out the Dropkick Murphys, which I did.
I mean,
that they should have won. Obviously, Boston. Boston Magazine's to blame for that. Don't blame us. But it was. And there's a gazillion other great bands in Boston at the time, and still are. We are very lucky to be in an awesome scene. Thankfully for the New England Music Awards and Boston Music Awards, and various places that can recognize some of those groups that go up there, and we're very excited that we're nominated just to be nominated, including that group.
So what happened with that?
The pandemic happened, so people moved away. People had kids during the pandemic. Just kind of, it was as if we felt like we were spinning the wheels beforehand to get at that point, and then the pandemic was just this is after that. We're all still friends. We're all buddies and still keep in touch, but people's priorities in life changed.
Yeah.
What our bass player, who was always a bit of a curmudgeon, I love him to death. He embraced the hermit lifestyle. He's he didn't know it was possible to live a hermit style. Now he's like a complete hermit up in the North Shore, living right in a seaside town, and he couldn't be happier, and I'm very happy for him. And we still keep in touch, and he's just they're good guys, but people's places where they are in life change. And after the pandemic, I just realized that I was missing a huge part of who I was, and I was I vowed I got to put something together. But putting together something takes a long time, and finding the right people, takes a long time too. So.
Right. Now, so while you were building this, were you doing things playing places by yourself?
Yeah, I would do. I take any gig I could get, basically. And I remember the first gig I did after the pandemic. was this outdoor show, and I played it. What happened to be our accordion player and I became friends just before the pandemic, and we were like to like start working together. And then that was obviously put on hold. But our first show was at this outdoor like hat show type thing, and oh man, I was terrible. Like I just remember being like, I'm better than this. I got to do better than this. And just I think that was because my playing out chops were not
Right.
there, and it took a while to even get back into the swing of things. But no, you have to play out. I mean, that was like a big part of it for me. The live experience is irreplaceable.
Yeah. No, it certainly is. And to do it and then not to do it for a year and a half, like that can't be easy.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of factors weighing in on everything. But kids, yeah, I
Yeah.
had young kids at the time too, and one of my daughter has some health issues, so we were very concerned about that. And, we wanted to protect her, and we did. And it was my fault. At one point, I was the first one to bring COVID home into the family, which eventually, like, we knew it was going to happen because we ended up playing bigger bar shows, and like it was after a St. Patrick's Day weekend show. We were playing a packed room where like people were like right up in my face, and ironically, I had a large group of friends playing with me. I pulling some session guys and some friends who just play with, and like no one else got COVID. I was the only one. So, and then of course, I give it to one kid who gives it to another kid,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
Well, like that's how it happened when we all had gotten it, right? Where my oldest had come home on like a Friday. It was like, I don't feel great,
yeah,
and then Monday rolled around and I was like, I don't feel great. And then it was like Tuesday came and then it was like, I really don't feel good. And then we all tested, and then it was like
done.
everybody else in the house was feeling fine, but everybody came back positive, and then it was like within 24 hours, it was like, forget it.
Yeah,
Forget it.
fortunately, I hope there were only mild cases for you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
We had
nobody
so we're lucky, but
right, nobody died, so I guess
yeah,
that's
yeah, right.
you
Oh,
know.
we're pretty, that was in the rear view, and I'm psyched that it's done. And,
Oh God, dude, I can't even tell you.
but like, I mean, with kids in general now, like, I feel like some of these colds that they bring in through the house, they knock you out.
It's
And
even worse.
yeah, it's even worse.
Way
So
worse. Um, yeah, it's my youngest has been. It feels like he's been sick since he started school this year.
you have 3 boys?
Yeah,
Nice. I have a boy, girl, and a boy. So
yeah, yeah. Three is a lot.
the magic number. Oh yeah, it's crazy a lot. Shit props to you for uh, being able to navigate that. I know. Yeah, I know
Every
that.
day, every day is an uphill battle, man.
Yep, that's true.
So, all right. So then, when you're not playing gigs and being dad, right? What
Yeah,
do you have, like a quote unquote
I
real
did.
job?
Yeah. I work in the arts, in the music business and the arts. So in a weird way, I work at Boston College, and
Okay,
I run events there. I oversee their art center and work directly in the theater and stuff like that. And
nice.
I work with the BC Bands program, which is pretty cool, and the radio station there, WZBC. So I have my hands in a lot of different things. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet job.
So why doesn't I remember when I was in college, right? And maybe it's because I'm not in college anymore, but it seemed like back then, 2005, 2006, so on and so forth. Um, like bands or tours, I guess you could call them, like would go through these college campuses. Why does it feel like that doesn't happen anymore?
I mean, like there's still tons of like colleges like that. I mean, we book a ton of bands, but they're usually private shows,
Okay.
so, so you're not going to hear about them in like the off college sector, because probably my guess is that it would be a liability to have like the college insurance covers the college students. If you open up to the public, it can cause, you just open yourself up to potential,
Right.
Someone trips on your campus or something goes wrong. And it's a very litigious society we're living in. So,
Right. Right.
it,
And it's not right. It's not like you guys have, like an arena like the Mullins Center out in Amherst.
yeah, right. I guess like BU does those big concerts
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, I guess it's just how it is, how the venue gets set up. Uh,
Right.
we have with our stuff, we are maxed out with like inter-college stuff, and we bring other people out. We have outside people come in, but there's so much activity with the students, which is great.
Yeah.
They're coming up with new ideas of stuff what they can do themselves, and we help them accomplish that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, because I remember I had gone to BC for a show. God, that had to have been 2007, 8, 9 ish, and it was one of those things where it's like, do you go to school here? And it's like,
Yeah,
if it's like if anybody asks, just say yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, the radio station I think does some shows that have like people brought in their own guests and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's each college has their own thing. Before us, I worked at Northeastern University, and we had like our own nightclub on campus called After Hours, and often that was either like for some of the big events, it was just student, and the student only. But most times it was plus one or stuff like that.
Yeah.
A few times.
So I mean, is that when you talk? I like to talk about shit that doesn't matter, right?
Oh, sure.
Um, but when it comes to like what is it, Alumni Stadium at BC?
Yeah.
Would that be big enough to attract like a bigger act?
Yeah, I mean that's what is that stadium like? Is it 30,000, 20,000, something like that? It's pretty big, and it's a pretty big stadium. But I know they use it. It's in use a lot too. So like, there's the bands program who marches and practices on it. There's all these other. There's the football team, of course, but there's other you know parts of the school that use it, and yeah, I do they do big concerts like that? I know they do like fundraisers, like in Conti Forum, the hockey thing. They do like a thing called Pops in the Heights, where it's always like a national artist will come in and play with Boston Pops, but
Oh,
that's usually
cool.
the year. Um, I think it just depends where the university's focus is. Taking care of the students, like the paying customers first, and I think they have the same problems as many colleges around here. We're landlocked, and like getting like extra room for a playing field or extra room for it's financially really hard to do. So it's really tricky to maintain. Like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have, yeah, we have one venue that is like great for student events, but like to rent it out, it's really tricky because it doesn't have enough parking. But
Yeah.
they have cars, so it's great for that. But you try and like rent the parking from like a nearby area, you make your event cost like it's not cost effective. So
Right. Right. Yeah. And anybody that's ever been in the BC area, Chestnut Hill, they know it
you
sucks.
gotta drive. I mean, there is some teeth,
Right.
but it's been
Yeah.
it's a driving part of the city, I think.
Now, for what you do during the day, does that make your extracurriculars easier to manage?
Yeah, I think when I work with artists that are coming to town or performers that are performing in schools. I think it's helpful to know both sides of the stage, to know what what people's the audience's expectations are, as well as like the management's expectations are, and just understand that there's multiple players and sometimes competing priorities that you have to manage when you're working a show, whether you're a performer, you're a technician running back stuff backstage or in the control room, or you're usher at the front of the house taking tickets. or the booking agent or the manager or the press. Like there's so many like different parts to it, and like being able to like have a little bit of a experience working alongside those various components is good, and it's very helpful for me. Like we did this overseas tour once, and we were playing in a venue. Kid Rock had played like 2 weeks earlier, but what happened is there was a huge sandstorm. It was where was this? I think this was in Kuwait. There was a big sandstorm, and like all the gear, like, well, not all of the gear, like half the gear got fried, and it was a multinational base. So there were like 3 different PA systems there, about each one like half worked. So we had to like cobble together. Oh, and also there's like, it was a US base. So we had the US, there were outlets that were based for US electricity. There was outlets based for the European, like English way. And then like, the African outlet system, or the Saudi African, Saudi, whatever. There were 3 different power formations, multiple PAs. We had to build together. So like we're the armed services doing this, aren't playing for the troops. We're out there at this army base, and like they don't have like an AV specialist there. They, like that's just, you got to figure it out on yourself. And fortunately, like we had people, myself and someone else, who worked in like these AVs type setups. So we were able to cobble together, like do some basic electrician work, put a working PA system together. Show went on. We played a show for 1,000 people in like 1,000 U.S. troops out in the middle of Kuwait, which was pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
And like, that's an example of like how like having the example of the technical background that has been very good to have.
So does the USO call you, or do you call them and say, "Hey, we're interested"?
So I've done multiple USO tours, which is one of the reasons why I've gotten to go so many countries. But they called us, and I was like, that was the first time they called up. Actually, they called them both times. But the first time I remember distinctively, because I was like, yeah, this is a joke. I'm sorry. Yep. Call. Yeah. I totally thought it was going to be a scam. And to the point I'm like, okay, yep. All right. And then, I'm like, all right, we'll make appointments, speak. And then they call back, and I was like, so, oh shit, this is it was the Pentagon. And they were like, they were so-and-so from the Pentagon talking about this, and I'm like, oh my god, did I type something bad in my search engine? I'm like, what did I do? Like, okay,
Yeah.
this is not a joke. I like did what I'm like, what did I like? Did I do something? Like, did I look up something? Did I press the wrong link? Am I on a list? And it turned out it was this. They're inquiring about us doing a tour, and we end up doing a tour of in Central America, which was pretty sweet. And then we did later on, and down the line we did a Middle Eastern tour, which is pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a huge honor too.
Oh my God, it was made me very proud. I felt like it was. I really have so much respect for the troops. Veterans Day just passed, but this was a lifetime experience, like once in a lifetime. And if it came up again, I would definitely do it again. I have so much respect for the troops and the people working hard out there. I would do it in a heartbeat. It was an unforgettable experience. We did this one show. We're on the Iraq border, and it's like another desert situation. And the we're in like a half shell type situation where, like, we're under this thing, and all the troops are out there, and it's a situation where because it was a war zone, everyone had to have like a reflector and a weapon on them, like, I guess at all times, like in the mess hall and when you're walking around, when they're watching the show, we got all these guys with live weapons right in front of us, men and women. and it was pretty surreal because you like I'm like if we could screw up, are they gonna shoot us?
This song
What's the pressure?
sucks.
Like, I don't know. There's a lot of weaponry around here, and it was then the strangest thing happened because you're in the desert, like the sky got all weird colored, and it starts raining, and it starts like a few drops. It comes down, and because there's so much dust kicked up in the sky, the rain actually just absorbs all this dust on its way down. And when it lands, it's like as thick as bird poop. Like it's really thick, and it like also makes a mark because there's all this dust that had just collected
Right.
from the dust in the air from being in the middle of the desert. And so it like starts raining, and all like everyone's like, like they're taking off, and they're uh and like some guys like, yeah, when it rains it's the worst because all it like marks up your suit and you have to do your whole suit, and everyone's like, I'm like, oh screw it. I'm like, guys, come on in the pit. Another So we ended up having like as many people that we could fit into the hat show, or as this became, instead of this big concert playing out that way, everybody was just hanging out in the storm and like packed into this like the protected area of a concert, and we like turned around and played right with them, all with the troops all around us, like side by side, immersed in them. And that was like
Oh,
one
that's
of
awesome.
the memories. It was really cool. It was very surreal.
Damn. So for you, for the kind of music you play and you're into, like, where did that? Are you from here originally?
I'm from New Hampshire originally, but
Okay.
I've been living down in the Boston area for a long enough time where I feel like I can call myself a little bit of a local. So
Yeah.
where
No.
you
So like, where did the influence come from?
um I don't know. Like, I mean, it's evolved over time. What I Where do you come from originally, by the way?
I'm from where I live. I'm about 20 minutes from Foxborough,
Cool.
25 minutes. Like
I saw
I'm right on the Mass Rhode Island line, and this is where I've always been.
I saw in an earlier podcast that I was watching of yours that you're a big Ozfest guy, and without having kids, you got into the country music.
Yeah.
I found that a really cool story.
Yeah. My musical tastes, growing up, it was, the Beatles and, Pink Floyd and classic rock. And then, when I was an angsty teenager, it was metal. And then it was jam bands. And then it got to this, once I got married and started having kids, it was like, it spoke a little clearer.
I that's a great like transition. Like I mean, musical tastes change as you go on.
Yeah.
I say I have some commonalities there. Hearing that, I didn't know the Oz thing. I got a ticket to Ozzy when I was like in elementary school. Like I told my mom I was going to go to see Ozzy. She's like, "No, you're not." So I never did. And then finally, I got like my license, and I got like had this shit box of a car, and I was like going down to Worcester to the Centrum to see Ozzy. Like I was like 18 or something like that,
Yeah.
and my engine seized on the way down, and I never
Oh,
got to see Ozzy, so I missed him twice. But
oh,
let's go through that. Jam bands. I definitely like jam bands. I have one of my prized possessions is Trey wrote me a postcard once from the band Fish when they were starting out. I had asked them a question about how to play a guitar lick, and he wrote back to me. It was back in the day before email. There's like letters,
yeah.
and so that was really cool. I still save that. Um, but I think what happened for us is I was definitely into like sort of the punk scene as well. In Back, this is dating me, but I worked on Lollapalooza for summer, and while I was doing that, I was going up and down the East Coast and exposed to a lot of music. I mean, just Lollapalooza itself, like there usually had two or three stages, different kinds of music going on, and uh, I was writing a lot of songs at the time when I was down in Florida. Got Met some people who agreed to help put out a record for me. or an album, and it was like a little demo, and some of the songs that I put on there, the one that when we started playing them out when I got back to Boston, the ones that like they were like honestly like punk or a little bit ska. Like one was like a angry folk singer uh, type thing. But the song that went over the best was um, this like country number I did. Like it just like and like it was always like out of that like early generation of songs. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write more like that one.
Yeah.
That when people liked, I'm gonna do more in that sense. And so that was all. That was part of it. I do think that my parents had an influence on me as well. Bob Dylan. When I was a kid. When I was in trouble, they would give me a timeout and put me in a chair. I'd have to listen to the like a side of a Bob Dylan album before I was allowed to get up, and which was
So 3 hours later.
yeah, essentially. And they kept me there, and I was like, oh, I hate his voice, but turns out I fucking love him, and like they probably didn't want a musician as a son, but that's what they got,
Right.
and yeah, so that was really part of one of the things that was super cool about so Bob Dylan major influence, and us being on uh, the Guilford, New Hampshire stop of the Outlaw uh, Music Festival. Bob Dylan was supposed to play that night. I like brought my parents. It was going to be Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, and the Jack and I, John Mellencamp. But Bob Dylan dropped off the bill, and I was really bummed out about that because like I was like it was going to be such
Oh,
full circle moment with my parents.
right.
But that
I, I saw that tour this year when they went through Great Woods,
yeah.
and Willie wasn't on the tour yet, so Lucas was doing all of Willie's stuff.
Well,
And
we were worried like he had some health problems going, and
right,
glad glad he's doing he's
yeah,
in good shape at least when we played with him.
yeah, and so Dylan was on the stop I saw, and
Yeah.
he didn't play a single song I knew.
Oh, wow. So, or they might have because you just couldn't understand them,
That could be too.
But
That could be too. But I
like
was. It was cool to see a legend.
yeah, he's a legend. So and,
Um,
and then another part is I do a lot of Celtic influence stuff, and that's my parents listen to Irish music, and that's sort of my art
nice.
gets weaved in, and that always is fun to play.
Yeah, because when I was listening to your stuff, it threw me for a loop when I heard the accordion.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you don't hear it.
Yeah, it's great. Like I'm all about the novelty instruments, which kind of aren't like novelty anymore. But I like something that if I'm going to do something, I want to make it I want to make it seem special. I don't want it to sound like something else. I'd rather be you know rough and unpolished and original rather than something smooth and pristine that kind of could blend in with a bunch of stuff. I think that hasn't helped us in a lot of ways, but it also it's created our own thing, and we're happy with that too.
I mean, you guys are doing something right.
We're not losing any sleep over it, but yeah, we're
Right.
about it. So playing a lot of shows, doing stuff. We got some good friends. I listened to the podcast with Eliza Smith, and
Yep.
she's awesome. She's a
He
great
is.
Boston based performer. Dan Miller, obviously. We got
I say it all the time that Eliza's a hidden gem.
oh, totally, yeah. I
She
completely,
is.
completely agree.
She is incredible.
She's up for Boston Music Award this year too, so that's great.
Yeah, she is. Yep. Are you guys too?
No, we're not. We're not. I think they got rid of the Americana category.
Yeah, they've kind of the categories they have I find are strange.
That being said, they're like the country. A lot of those genres, but I happen to know the country one pretty well. Are like slammed with talent. There's like so many
Yeah.
good artists that we're okay not being like
Right.
although
Right.
it's cool that it gets to be nominated among them, but they're there's just some really good talent in there. So and I don't yeah they're way above our pay grade. So.
Yeah, I find it funny because it's like, with the Nemes, right? The country acts that are nominated, there's like a ton, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like, Jesus Christ. And like every one of them are great.
yep.
Every one of them are great. And
It's
then it's like, I get the emails for the Boston Music Awards, and it's like, here are the 6 people, and it's like,
Well, they're
sounds
different organization.
right.
There's pros and cons to both New England Music Awards and Boston Music Awards, but we've been blessed. I've been blessed to win one, at least both of them, both sides of those things, but they are different. And that being said, I really love just the down hominess of the New England Music Awards, how they're put together.
Yeah,
Their Gerg is awesome. The whole team there is you fantastic with how it just becomes like it's more of a celebration. Everybody's rubbing elbows together. Everybody's having a few cocktails, or chewing on some food, or some beverages, whatever. Just like a nice mix. Like if you want to get close to see the show, you can go back up and talk to different people, and congratulate everyone's like obviously like not too big to like be like pompous or full of themselves. It's a very friendly,
right.
welcoming event, and it's good folks. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We were, I sent an email to get involved with them 3 years ago, and never in a million years did I think it would go anywhere. And you know, here we are.
that's totally cool. It's totally
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, um, yeah. I have to blame Russell James for that one, because he got me into it, and here we are.
That's 3 years later, and hopefully, and can keep going. Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as long as I'm still doing this, and if they're still doing what they're doing, I'll always throw my hat in it. You
very cool.
know. So what about you guys? Like, what do you got going on? I mean, the year's coming to an end, but like, for next year and all that.
Well, like we got invited to tour Europe last summer, and we declined. Um, and that's been one of my goals, to do some more international touring. So we postponed it, which was um, it just wasn't the right timing for us, and it probably was the right call. Um, it is the right call. We're going. We got offered another tour this summer, which I think is actually even better, and in terms of positioning and logistics and stuff like that. So we're going on tour this summer for a bit, and that's one thing that's coming up. As far as other stuff, more short term, one of the things that I've been involved in over the years. There used to be a New England Americana Festival, and
Oh yeah.
I mentioned this a little bit at the award show, but we are, it was probably bigger about a decade ago. Um, it got to be like a huge festival, and with like 80 bands, 10 venues all over the city, big ones in like Harvard, Harvard at the Oberon, which was a pretty big venue at the time, and it was it was a great festival and great source of community. Like it was, it provided infrastructure much like this does, to like recognize and you know some of the musicians that you work with and some of their influences and stuff like that, and name drop, shout out, like recognize each other and be recognized too, much like
Yeah.
so it was a thing I wanted to bring back, to build like some community that I think sort of, in my opinion, has been missing since the pandemic. Like a lot of the stuff, there was a magazine called The Noise that used to exist. There was a lot of music community around that. The New England Music New England Americana Festival. There was a lot of stuff there that brought people together, and I was like, we need to do this again. Like Boston needs this. Is a good thing. So, talked to the previous like showrunners, had run it, and like asked them if I could help do something, and they gave me the keys to the car, and I'm taking it for a drive. So we have a relaunch party coming up next month, and doing some bigger work got planned for 2025 to put
Nice,
together. So yeah, you'll be hearing about that for sure.
nice, nice. So you're saying that across the city, you put people in different bars and it's just all kind of going on at the same time?
Yeah, we had like there was like a it's easy to do in certain places if they're proximate to each other. And I mean it's that model has been done before, even like going back before. I don't know if you remember Nemo. Nemo was a big music festival that Boston used to host when music like conferences, music industry conferences were a
All
thing.
right. Yeah.
Boston one was called Nemo. Um, and yeah, you could have like a pass that would get you into like the various things. My favorite though is I like the smaller versions of that sort of grew out. I think that's beyond my level right now. What we're doing is like having like getting a big bar and having multiple stages going in the bar, and it have like the stage one goes off and then the next stage will go off, so they can be like rapid fire, like quick turnovers.
Right.
So we're looking at that. We got bands like um, Tiger Man, Whoa, Lonely Lisa. Let me bring up some of these things. I have a gazillion people here. We have all right, Eliza Smith and Aaron Bonney. The brother Daryl, Chuck Melchin, who's the Bean Pickers Union. Not sure if you know about her. Him rather. Comanchero, Nate Perry and Ragged Company, Tiger Man Whoa, Kier Byrnes and the Kettle Burners, shout out. Sun Fisher, our friends in Sun Fisher, Autumn Harrow, Lonely Lisa and the Lost Cowboys, Daniel Miller and the High Life, Dave Samarco Band, Sam Reed and the Riot Act, and a bunch of other like singer songwriters type.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be like a big turnout, a lot of quick short sets, but like the basic is the same thing like the New England Music Awards, just getting everybody in the room, kind of like rubbing elbows, talking, hanging out. Because a lot of times there's so many of my friends' bands that I want to see, but we're working the same night. They're playing Saturday here, we're playing at the Rum Line or somewhere, or
Right.
So this gets us all in the same room, and it's for a good cause. We're doing the show. We're going to do is going to be part of a fundraiser we're doing for the Boston Children's Hospital.
Nice.
That and that's can't go wrong with that. So.
No, not at all. Have you picked a venue yet?
Yeah, the first one, the relaunch party is going to be at sort of like one of my local watering holes called Medford Brewing Company. I have a relationship with the owners there who have given me freedom to creative freedom to like turn the place into a zoo for a night. So it'll be fun.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, well, we'll keep you in the loop. Hopefully,
Yeah.
if you're down, come on. I know you're. Are you're South Shore? No,
I'm Central Mass.
Central Mass. Okay.
Yeah, I'm about 25 minutes south of Worcester.
Oh yeah, that's a haul. So
Yeah. Yeah. Going up to the North Shore is a pain in the ass.
I hear you, and vice versa.
Yeah. 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 I have a friend that lives up in Salem, and going up there, it's like, no. Nope.
You're really close to Indian Ranch. I sound.
Yeah.
I love that place. We've
Yeah,
played
I do too.
over the years, and that's like one of the last mom and pop venues where it's not owned by like the corporate man. They're just putting
Yeah.
it together, and they're great. Family
Yeah.
having their own business.
Yeah. Indian Ranch is a lot of fun, and it's, there's nothing better than day drinking in the middle of summer.
Yeah, yeah, right on the water. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so, with us being the Boots and Whiskey podcast, we got to talk boots and whiskey, obviously.
oh yes, yeah.
So do you have a pair of boots you like?
I have multiple pairs of boots. I'm putting the phone back in there. I have to charge the phones. Here we go. I'll just hold it like that. Yeah, I got I'm not wearing them right now because I have I'm not. My, as you saw, I was on crutches. My legs are all mangled, and walking's hard. Putting on socks is hard, let alone
Yeah.
boots. But I got a couple sweet pairs of cowboy boots. I got ostrich one. I got some one that I believe is crocodile or alligator or something. But and another pair that I'm unidentified what material it is. But they came from a dead man. So
Did you take them off the dead man?
no, my a friend of a friend's dad passed away, unfortunately, and he had like a collection of boots, and the guy, it was, a really nice thought. They were like, his son knew my friend. He knew my band, and he's like, you should give that guy this guy's boots. And like, I'm like, they were given to me, and I'm like, ironically, it was not the first pair of Dead Man's shoes I've worn or had my. So I was like, sure, I'm down for this, and I wear them on stage with honor and respect, and yeah, that guy's boots.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so those are the and I feel like you have to walk a mile in another man's shoes. So
Yeah.
playing a few hundred shows in another man's shoes. I got my lucky boots I always go to, and what about you? What's your favorite boots there?
So I have a pair of Ariats that were those are my first, and they are pretty broken in at this point. They're like almost, oh shit, they're like 6 years, 7 years old now. I got them when COVID started, so yeah, 4 years old, four. And then I have another pair of boots that I wore the other night, my Dixons. Um, those are like my dress up kind of boot, and that's all I have. Um, and a lot of it is because I'm too cheap to go out and buy some.
Yeah. I've got them resold before. I've had to do that. Because once they're broken in, they're not. I don't want to do that. I'm at the point where I'm going to need to figure out what my next stitch boot. I have a few pair, but my favorite ones I always play are starting to like, they're starting to give. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Bourbon though, what's your bourbon of choice?
See,
Boots and whiskey, or I guess whiskey bourbon.
when it comes to bourbon, I'm not the biggest bourbon fan, and I know, but I like the stuff that comes out of Buffalo Trace
Buffalo
a
Trace.
lot. I like the Blanton's, the Eagle Rares, um, 10th Mountain out of Colorado. Their bourbon's really, really good. Um, but I like Rise a lot.
You got to get some bourbon sponsorships so you could sample some of them.
I have a bunch of bottles I'm looking at that I've been sent and given and all that. It's just with my state of mind in the last year, I think opening a bottle and just drinking it is probably a bad idea.
Fair enough. Yeah, we don't have to go there.
We've already gone down that road enough on this show. Anybody that's listening knows they're like, we're sick of hearing about it, Jim. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, it's so yeah, I like a good rye. I'm a big bullet rye old fashioned guy. Probably a little to my own detriment, but whatever.
I love my some of my bourbon stories and how I got there. Um, a while back, I wrote this song called "Maker's Mark Blues," in parentheses, "Woman from Arlington," and I thought it was a really good song. And I got to meet. I had a chance to meet with Fred Samuels, the master distiller of Maker's Mark. And I pitched him the song, and it didn't go anywhere. But I did somehow like get in like the right loop somehow, because a few years later, Jim Beam, who actually owns the Maker's Mark brand, uh, had me do some work for them, and I got invited by Fred No, who's the great grandson of Jim Beam, and I was master distiller at the time. I think I don't think he may be retired now, but Fred No, we got to fly down to his house and play some songs, and I got a private tour with him. And one of the coolest things about this whole deal was like, I got to pick some. They were like, they were going to put us up in a hotel, and I was like, is it okay if I bring my dad and my brother as well? Because this is like the coolest. They're bourbon fans as well, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, bring them. I'm like, okay, you guys are roadies. You're on the tour, and we went out, and we actually the first night we were down there. We hung out with Fred Samuels, right? And the Jim Beam guys. And we end up going to a bowl. They end up like after like we met with like a bunch of people, did a whole bunch of things. It was more of a meet and greet, and then everyone's like, let's go bowling. So we went to a bowling and like somewhere in um, Claremont, Kentucky, somewhere near there. Louisville, no, it was in Louisville, Kentucky there. And we went bowling, and they were they're like, try these bourbons, try this bourbon. And it was a very drunken night. And like eventually like the band's like hanging out, and my dad's pretty tipsy. My brother is pretty tipsy, and they're like they knew I had to hang out and stay and like relax, but they didn't. Neither they both thought they were taking the other person home. Like, Dad's really drunk. I'm going to take him home, and my dad's like, your brother's really drunk. I'm going to just take him home. We're going to go. So I'm like, they both walked each other home, thinking they were taking the other home.
Yeah.
And so we're there, we're just hanging out still at the bowling alley, and like we're just still drinking, we're having a great time. We're like, oh, we were laughing about it. And 30 minutes later, my brother pops back in. He's like, I forgot my shoes. So he walked home all the way to the hotel in the shoes, and then so it was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
We had good times. Fred No brought us through the like a warehouse, and he had like Steve would call like the guy on the forklift. He's like, go get that barrel for me, and like the forklift will carry it down, and they'd take the bung out, and we'd like, he's like, this is my favorite barrel, it's the best barrel placement, and we'd like have his like top choice, and like we're like, oh, and he taught us like how specifically to drink whiskey and stuff like that.
Damn.
He has a way.
That's awesome.
So it was really, really cool. And so after all this, playing and stuff like that, we get back. And I'm going to going back to my apartment, and there's a parting gift that like he had, I guess, shipped from one of the distributors on my doorstep. There was a case of bottles of Jim Beam, and I'm like, holy crap! Like at this point, I couldn't even look at whiskey anymore. But I was like, we put them to good use, just not right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was really sweet, and so that being said, all this going, what a long story long is, my favorite bourbon is Jim Beam Black, because that was just one that I like sort of gravitated to the most, of like the Jim Beam stuff. I have really fond memories of that whole trip and that experience and being able to sing it. We did some songs for Jim Beam, and like back on Facebook when there was Jim Beam like had like three groups that they had like endorsed songs was Kid Rock, Montgomery Gentry, and us.
Nice.
Just for like they were like promotes, and we had we had a song called Jim Beam, and they had that played, and it was really cool. They're really nice people. Would love to work with them again.
Damn, me too.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, that's awesome. Well, man, I can't thank you enough for coming and taking the time in your busy day and
Man.
chilling out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking more and hanging out, and
Same.
hopefully see you on one of the good country and roots and Americana shows around town. And
Yeah, I gotta figure it out. Once the holidays come and go, I think it'll be easier.
no, it's always a tricky time in front of the holidays. But
Yeah.
I've been thinking about you, wishing you
Thanks,
well.
man.
I know if you ever need to give me a call,
I will.
Drinking buddy or something, I'm there.
Hey, we could always use one of those.
All right.
All right, Kier. Thanks so much, bud.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Our conversation with Kier Byrnes. Kier, again, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I was thinking about it, and so I recorded the introduction to this episode 2.5 hours ago. And if you were sitting here in real time, you'd be like, what the hell? Why didn't you just record it right after it? And because ADHD is a bitch. And I thought about it. I thought about re-recording the intro because I thought maybe it was taken a little offensive. And then I thought to myself, no, you're not re-recording shit, because that's what this show is. This is who you are. yeah, so we're gonna keep it that way. So I apologize to everybody if you're watching this or listening to this a little later. I know we typically release them on Monday nights around 10. If you've been paying attention, if not, that's fine. Just got a little distracted tonight. Things just came up, needed to do, and well, here we are. So again, thank you for being here. Check us out on all of our socials at Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Boots and Whiskey Entertainment's a website. Whatever. Go check it out. Don't. Whatever. So yeah, if you haven't noticed, here at the Boots and Whiskey Podcast, if you've never listened to us before, it's all about real people, real stories, real country, which is our tagline, I guess you could say. So until next week, guys. Next week, I don't even know who we have on next week. I'd have to look. But until then, keep those boots on the ground, the whiskey in the glass, y'all. Have a great week. Cheers.